All right, good afternoon. Trip announcement
Purchased
first.
the right for it.
Sorry?
I purchased the rights for the movie.
Oh, you purchased. um, Good afternoon. Today, the Secretary General will be heading to the annual G20 Summit, as he does every year. As you know, the meeting this year is being hosted by the Republic of South Africa, and it will be taking place in Johannesburg from the 22nd to the 23rd of this month. The Secretary General is set to address three of the sessions of the summit. The first one, titled Inclusive and Sustainable Economic Growth, Leaving No One Behind, Building Our Economies, the Role of Trade, Financing for Development, and the Debt Burden. That's just one session. The second one is titled A Resilient World, the G20's Contribution, Disaster Risk Reduction, Climate Change, a Just Energy Transition, and Food Systems. And the third session is titled A Fair and Just Future for All, Critical Minerals, Decent Work, Artificial Intelligence. While in Johannesburg, the Secretary General will also hold bilateral meetings with a number of leaders who will be at the G20. And tomorrow at 5 p.m. local time, he'll be holding a press conference with the media just ahead of the G20. And that press conference you can follow thanks to our friends at UN Web TV. From South Africa, the Secretary General will head to Luanda for an official visit to Angola, which celebrated its 50th anniversary since independence just last week. During the visit, the National Assembly will hold a special session to hear from the Secretary General, and while in Luanda, the Secretary General will also participate in the 7th session of the African Union European Union Summit. He will hold bilateral meetings also with the President of the Republic of Angola, João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, and will meet other leaders in attendance at the summit. And before all that, he spoke to your colleagues in Belém at a COP, at a press event, and he said that over the past days, he's met with world leaders, ministers, negotiators, indigenous people, civil society, and young people from every region. And one thing is clear, he said, we are down to the wire. The world is watching Belém. The Secretary General pointed out that communities on the front lines are watching too, counting flooded homes, failed harvests, lost livelihoods, and asking how much more we can suffer. The Secretary General strongly appealed to all delegations to show willingness and flexibility to deliver results that protect people and keep 1.5 degree alive. No delegation will leave Belém with everything it wants, he said, but every delegation has a duty to reach a balanced deal. His full remarks were shared with you. Also this morning, the Secretary General held a number of meetings with a number of ministers from different delegations, as well as a group of delegates from the G77, least developed countries, and others. I want to start off with a pretty horrendous report we just received from our humanitarian colleagues regarding Haiti. And they warn that as Haiti continues to see alarming levels of gender-based violence, survivors and those at risk have very limited access to the essential support they so desperately need. This is due to insecurity, access challenges, and funding shortfalls. Between January and September of this year, over 7,400 cases of gender-based violence were reported in Haiti, an average of about 27 per day. That's what our partners are telling us. Sexual violence made up just half of those cases, about 3,700, with nearly two-thirds of these involving gang rape. That's 2,400 cases. 2 out of 3 victims were displaced people. During the same period, our humanitarian partners were able to reach only 7% of the 833,000 people we aim to reach with specialized support to address gender-based violence. In total, our partners were able to reach just about 54,000 people. The response remains critically underfunded, with an overall funding gap of 13.5 million, 70% over the money that is needed for this year. If that funding is not received, about nearly 780,000 women and girls, including survivors of gender-based violence and those at risk, will go without these critical services, including clinical management of rape mental health and psychosocial support, case management, legal assistance, safe space for women and girls, and dignity kits. Our partners also warn that persistent insecurity and access challenges continue to prevent many survivors, including people with disabilities, women living in remote areas, from receiving timely, confidential, and adequate support. Despite all of these constraints, humanitarian organizations will continue to do their best to scale up life-saving services, including psychosocial support, medical care, and safe spaces for victims, mobile clinics, legal assistance, and the distribution of dignity kits. Between January and September, more than 32,000 information and awareness-raising sessions were conducted. Some 560 frontline workers have received specialized training. OCHA continues to work closely with our partners addressing gender-based violence in Haiti, as well as with national authorities in the country. All this to ensure that survivors can safely access essential services. Turning to Gaza, I can tell you that we are indeed deeply concerned about the Israeli airstrikes that we've seen, in which civilians were reportedly killed and injured yesterday, including children. This is a stark reminder how fragile the ceasefire is. What we need is for all to ensure that the ceasefire holds and continues to hold. This is why civilians must always be protected and spared from harm. Meanwhile, OCHA says that despite the impediments that remain, aid groups are pushing hard to reach as many people as they can with critical assistance. As of Monday, the daily number of meals distributed has reached 1.4 million. This is up from fewer than 1 million meals just a month ago. We are currently supporting a network of 27 partners running nearly 200 kitchens across the Gaza Strip, and the scale-up is continuing. Our partners leading on nutrition say the number of sites offering outpatients therapeutic feeding for children with acute malnutrition has jumped from just 7 before the ceasefire to 146 today. Shelter support is also ongoing. On Monday alone, our partners distributed more than 4,000 tents, 39,000 tarpaulins, 28,000 bedding items, and hundreds of clothing items to families in need. Child protection teams have been busy as well. On Monday and Tuesday, they reached more than 2,700 displaced children. 1,700 caregivers were services ranging from mental health and counseling to recreational activities, targeted follow-ups for vulnerable children, and help to prepare for winter. More than 50 children at heightened risk received additional support, including registration, referrals, and access to essential services. Among them were children who are unaccompanied or were separated from their families, those heading households or living with war injuries, and other lacking parental care or facing neglect. OCHA stresses that despite all this work, we and our partners can currently provide is still far from enough. The situation remains extremely dire. To give you an example, on Sunday and Monday, partners leading on-site management carried out a quick survey of displaced families staying along the shore in Khan Yunis and the Mawasi area of Rafah. That's an area hosting more than 4,000 households. Early findings show that because there's no proper system for disposing of fecal waste, many people are forced to use the sea as a toilet. At the same time, rising sea levels are pushing into tented areas and risk submerging whole sections, while strong winds have already knocked down multiple tents. OCHA says that while we and our partners seize every opportunity to help people in need, we're also continuing to negotiate and call for greater humanitarian access. Under a humanitarian plan for the ceasefire, aid operations rely on visas and permissions to bring in supplies, both for ourselves and our NGO partners. A wider range of equipment and essential goods must be cleared for entry through all available crossings and routes. Turning to Ukraine, Rosemary DiCarlo, our Undersecretary General for Peacebuilding and Political Affairs, just left Ukraine and said as she leaves the country, she was deeply moved by the bravery and resilience of its people. They've survived loss of loved ones, devastation, and daily hardships. The UN, she said, remains firm in its call for an immediate ceasefire as a starting point towards a just and sustainable peace. Just to note, at 3 p.m., the Council will meet for a briefing on Ukraine. They will hear a briefing from the Director of OCHA, Edem Worsornu, and the officer in charge for the European and Central Asian Division of our Political Affairs Department, and that is our colleague Kayoko Goto. We'll share those remarks with you as they become available. And earlier today, the Greek Cypriot leader Nikos Christoloudis and the Turkish Cypriot leader Tufan Erhurman met for the first time as leaders of both communities, both the Greek Cypriot and the Turkish Cypriot communities. The meeting took place in the UN-protected area and was facilitated by the head of the UN peacekeeping mission in Cyprus, Kasim Dian. The personal envoy of the Secretary General, Maria Angela Holgun, also participated in this meeting, but she did so virtually. Our colleague said this was an opportunity for the two leaders to have their first exchange of views in a cordial atmosphere. They look forward to the visit of Ms. Holgun and agreed to have a joint meeting with her when she'll be in the island in early December. They also expressed their readiness to work towards the next informal meeting with a broader format to be convened by the Secretary General. Turning to Sudan and the horrific situation that is ongoing in North Darfur State, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that more than 100,000 people have fled El Fasher and surrounding areas since late October, when the area was taken over by the Rapid Support Forces. Many people remain unaccounted for. Those who escaped El Fasher are arriving at displacement sites where conditions are, as you can only imagine, extremely dire, and the scale of needs is massive. We and our humanitarian partners are providing vital aid to displaced families. That includes fresh water, food, sanitation, and health care. In Tawila, the town is hosting a large number of people who fled El Fasher. UNICEF tells us they've reached more than 3,500 patients with health and nutrition services since late October, and screened nearly 800 children for malnutrition and supplied 150,000 liters of water daily to meet the needs of about 20,000 people. Meanwhile, escalating hostilities throughout the Kordofan region continues to force families from their homes. On Tuesday, more than 600 people were displaced from two villages in the North and South Kordofan states, while access to the region remains severely constrained. Across North Kordofan, violence has displaced nearly 40,000 people between October 26th and yesterday. That's what the International Organization for Migration is telling us. And in South Kordofan, key cities including Dilling and Kadugli, the state capital, remain under siege, leading to acute shortages of food and medical supplies for people who remain there. We continue to call for safe and unimpeded access to deliver life-saving assistance to Kordofan, Darfur, and all other parts of Sudan where communities need urgent support. We also appeal to donors to give generously to our appeals. And turning to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says they're alarmed by escalating violence in the provinces of North Kivu and Ituri provinces, both in the eastern part of the DRC. In North Kivu, hostilities have intensified in Lubero territory, where more than 45 people were killed since November 14th, following attacks on several villages. That's what local humanitarian partners are telling us. One particularly horrific incident took place on the night of the 14th. A health center was attacked, leaving 17 people dead, including patients, according to local civil society. Our partners also report that 2 health workers were kidnapped, medicine was looted, and a facility was set on fire. The surge in violence in Lubero has forced more than 30,000 people to escape their homes in less than a week, and families continue to flee today amid fears of further attacks. Insecurity is also hindering humanitarian access, but our partners are conducting assessments and delivering assistance wherever they can. Our partners working on water and sanitations are rehabilitating water sources in the locality of Mangurejipa, which continues to host families. Conditions there remain dire. Access for safe drinking water is 40% below normal levels. That heightens the risk of waterborne diseases, forcing women and girls to travel long ways to fetch water, which is in turn exposing them to physical risks. In neighboring Ituri province, 2 attempted armed attacks on Lolwa Hospital in Mombasa territory were reportedly thwarted. Since the start of the year, more than 240 civilians have been killed and over 114,000 people displaced. We condemn in the strongest terms these attacks on civilians and health facilities and reiterate our call on all parties to respect international humanitarian law and ensure the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure. Attacks on civilians and health facilities are obviously unacceptable and must stop immediately. I was asked by one of your colleagues yesterday about UN80, an update. I can tell you that tomorrow at 3 p.m., our colleague Guy Ryder, the Undersecretary General for Policy, is scheduled to brief member states on the initiative, more specifically on the UN80 action plan. The action plan, which was published a few days ago, brings together the proposals from across 3 work streams of the UN80 initiative under one roof, all this to facilitate the process and strengthen alignment and accountability. The document is available online, and the event will be webcast. We're pleased to report that Uganda has made its payment in full to the regular budget, and we thank them. This brings the number of fully paid-up member states to 143. Today is a number of days. It is World Children's Day. In his message, the Secretary General reminds us that every child has equal rights wherever they live, and the future depends on how we care for the next generation. On this day and every day, let's listen to children, amplify their voices, and work together to build a safe, equal world for every child on this planet. Today is also Africa Industrialization Day. In his message, the Secretary General highlights Africa's determination to transform economies and build a sustainable future, with women and youth driving green industries despite challenges like climate change, debt, and insecurity. And I'm going to leave you with a quiz. Who said, "I think, therefore I am"? Descartes. Tu vas être recalé. Which means today is what international day?
World Philosophy Day.
Exactly. It is World Philosophy Day, a reminder to do what humans do best, which is think before answering a question, and think with purpose, and ask questions freely and boldly. All right. Deji, then Pam.
Yeah, 2 different topics. First, yesterday, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, alongside with the Minister of Defense and Minister of Foreign Affairs, visited Israeli-controlled southern Syria, which draws strong condemnation from the Syrian Authority. What is the position of the Secretary General on the latest development there?
I would encourage you to read in full the transcript from yesterday's briefing, because I answered that question.
Okay.
You had a second question, so
Yeah.
try again.
Most likely it will be asked. It has already been asked. So there's reports that the White House has put a new proposal for Ukraine, talking about giving to recognize Crimea and other places as the Russian territory, as well as reduce the military presence of Ukraine, as well as the long-range weapons. We know that today there's going to be a Security Council meeting on Ukraine, and yesterday you just released a statement to condemn Russia's attack on Ukraine. So how's the latest proposal
Well,
go?
I mean, we haven't seen, at least I'm not aware that we've seen the proposal in full beyond what's been in the press. I think the Secretary General's position has been very clear from the start, is that we stand ready to support and help any meaningful process that would lead to a full, immediate, and unconditional ceasefire, leading to a just, comprehensive, and sustainable peace that fully upholds Ukraine's sovereignty, its independence, territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders, in line with the Charter, international law, and all relevant UN resolutions. Pamela.
Yes, thank you, Steph. And follow up on Ukraine. The 28-point plan has been questioned by the European Union, by Ukraine itself, because Ukraine hasn't been consulted, and it makes many concessions that Ukraine does not agree with. Has the UN in any way been consulted, and what is the Secretary General's view of a plan that doesn't involve Ukraine?
Well, we have not been consulted. As I told Deji, we have not seen. All we know about the plan is what we've read in the press, and I think, I'm happy to read my standard language again. But as I said, the Secretary General's position has really not changed, right? And he is ready to support initiatives in line with what I've just read out.
To press it one notch further, if Ukraine is not involved in the negotiations.
Listen, these are all hypotheticals. What is clear, I think, for any conflict to be resolved in a just and sustainable manner is that all those that are involved in the conflict need to be at the table. But that's just a matter of principle. As for the plan, as I said, we haven't seen anything beyond what's in the press.
Thank you.
Gabby, and then we'll go down that way.
Thanks, Steph. Just housekeeping on the Secretary General's travels to Angola. You said it was after after
G20.
G20. But do you have the dates in Angola? Monday through when?
It's right after. You're asking me questions that I should know the answer to. It's just right. It's so after the 23rd.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
no
that's
problem.
right. He's not doing anything in between the G20 and Angola.
No problem. Thanks. And then on COP30, you said that obviously it's down to the wire. Best of my understanding, there's not even a draft text yet, and we're less than 48 hours from this thing concluding. How is the Secretary General going to determine if COP30 was a success or not, particularly given that an early agreement that many people hoped was going to happen, clearly that ship has already sailed. It's not going to happen.
Well, first of all, 48 hours is a lifetime in terms of negotiating a text at the UN, especially when we have the God-given ability to stop the clock. Okay, so let's not declare anything a failure. Our aim right now is to work for a success. I'll get back to you. Volodymyr, Benny, Islam, and then we'll go to Nemo.
Thank you, Stéphane. I've got two questions, if you don't mind. Today, Russia carried out a massive attack on Ukraine's civilian infrastructure in the city of Ternopil. At the site of the Russian missile strike, 26 people have been confirmed dead, including 3 children, and 93 others injured, including 18 children. What is your comment?
We can continue to condemn the Russian strikes on Ukraine, and especially ones in which civilians are killed and civilian infrastructure is hit.
There's another question. Russia is deliberately shedding electrical substations that are critical for nuclear safety as they provide power to nuclear plants. Has the Secretary General considered commenting on this issue?
Listen, I'm not sure I have the details to the exact situation you mentioned, but we have been very clear on our concern about the fate of Ukraine's nuclear facilities, regardless who has effective control of them. And what is the most important is that they need to be kept safe and out of combat. Benny, then Islam.
Also a couple of questions. First one, so yesterday President Trump said that he intends to mediate in Sudan. What do you think, since you mentioned Sudan in your briefing, what do you think is the United States contribution could be, and is there a plan to cooperate between the U.S. and
we
Iran?
we welcome the efforts of the United States and those of any and all member states who are working to support the end of this conflict, to support humanitarian access, the protection of civilians, and to work towards lasting peace. I can tell you that whether it's Mr. Lamamra or or Tom Fletcher. They've all been in touch with both U.S. and obviously a lot of other counterparts.
Has the Secretary General tried to mediate between the two supporters of the two sides in Sudan, United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia?
Look, Secretary General, his envoys have had various contacts with the parties and also as well as regional parties.
And the second question is
That's
today.
the third.
No, the first was a follow-up on the
Okay,
second.
I'm counting question marks, Benny, but go ahead.
I didn't know there was going to be math. Yesterday, today, I think actually, the U.S. Representative at the UN for management was going after the General Assembly resolutions on Israel, saying it's the same resolution every year, blah 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 blah. Is that the concern since it came from the guy who was in charge of management? Is that a concern for the Secretary General?
I'm not going to comment on what every member state says in the General Assembly. It's a deliberative body. They deliberate and they vote on resolutions. The Secretary General is not involved in that process. Islam.
Thank you very much, Stéphane. Yesterday, I asked a question about the yellow line, and I think there was some confusion about it, so I would like to clarify the situation on, if I may say, east side of the yellow line and west side of the yellow line, where under the Israeli forces control. What would you say about the population-wise? What is the situation in both sides? We know on the west sides where the most Gazans stay in, but what about the east side? Are there any civilians, any Gazans still there?
So we don't. So we're clear in speaking in the zone that is between the so-called yellow line and the Gaza border, that is where Israeli military remains. We do not have access to that area for humanitarian operations. The only access we have is going from the crossings to the other side of the yellow line. So I don't have any information I can share with you publicly on that. We continue our efforts on the other side, so-called of the yellow, between the so-called yellow line and the Mediterranean, where we focus our humanitarian work. Ideally, we would have access to all Palestinians in Gaza, regardless of where they are.
But do we know at least there are still people in?
I mean, that's an assumption. There are people there. I don't have a number I can share with you. Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Stéphane. UNICEF issued a major warning on Iraq today, on World Children's Day, saying, quote, Iraq's deepening water crisis is robbing millions of children of their fundamental rights and jeopardizing their future. Are there any immediate steps that the Secretary General is urging UN agencies, the international community, and Iraqi authorities to take on this matter?
Well, I mean, I would, we follow, for the Secretary General's point of view, we follow UNICEF's lead, which is also in terms of the situation in Iraq. We share their concerns. UNICEF is the lead agency on water and sanitation for the UN system, and we hope that all the Iraqi authorities at various levels will work with UNICEF to try to correct the problem. And we also hope that the donors, member states, will give generously to UNICEF's work in that regard. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Steph. You mentioned earlier in your briefing. Oh, it was.
No, go ahead. It's okay. We'll get to everybody.
Sorry. You mentioned earlier in your briefing that Israeli airstrikes killed 30 Palestinians today, which has marked one of the gravest provocations since the ceasefire on October 10th. While it's been abundantly clear that the UN is not an arbiter towards tracking violations of the ceasefire, does the SD still truly believe that there even is a ceasefire in place?
We have to. Anything that undermines the ceasefire is very concerning. We have to work towards the keeping that ceasefire alive. We have to work towards getting to phase two. I mean, the situation, as we've been saying, we're not getting enough humanitarian aid in, but we're getting much more humanitarian aid in than we were before the start of the ceasefire. Yep.
Thank you, Steph. Well, the United States will not send a delegation to the G20 Summit. It sent a letter to South Africa, in which Washington expressed its objection to the issuance of any outcome document presented as a G20 consensus without U.S. consent. And it says it will only accept a chair's statement reflecting a lack of consensus. So that is the SG concerned that the letter will have a negative impact on the outcome of
the Secretary
G20.
General is not, the UN is not a member of the G20. The Secretary General attends as a guest of the presidency, and we're very thankful to the Republic of South Africa to have extended that invitation to us. I think the question, we were aware of the issue you've raised, the question about the legitimacy of what comes out of that summit will have to be asked of the presidency of the G20. Any questions online? Yes, please, go ahead,
Yes.
Zora. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
I can.
Yes, please.
I can ask my question.
You may ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question regarding Iran. The IEA Board of Governors had adopted a resolution proposed by the US and 3 European countries against Iran. According to the IAEA report, the suspension of certain safeguards activities and the withdrawal of inspectors were a result of circumstances following attacks on Iran nuclear facility. And this decision were made based on security consideration. Now, what's the Secretary General reaction to the IAEA report and the board's resolution? And does this resolution risk undermining diplomacy? And what advice does the Secretary General have for the US and 3 European countries?
Okay. It's not for us to comment or analyze the decisions taken by an executive board or governing body of a UN specialized agency. The IAEA is there for the UN system to lead on nuclear-related issues. The Secretary General's position is unchanged, which is that he would like to see a cooperation between the IAEA and Iran in dealing with Iran's nuclear program. Any other question?
Does this resolution risk undermining diplomacy?
Look, it's not for us to predict what will happen. I mean, I think that's a question for analysts to answer. Yes,
Thank you.
Islam. Oh, sorry, there's another question, I think, from your colleague, Marva, online. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Steph. This is Merve from Anadolu. So my question is actually about West Bank. The situation in West Bank has been worsening since October 2023. And you have mentioned that, you've mentioned so many concerns about this, but the Human Rights Watch today released a report saying that the forcible displacements amounts to war crimes. So what does the SG say about this? What concrete steps could be taken towards this? Thank you.
I mean, as you say, Merve, we've been talking about what is going on in the West Bank for quite some time. We're well aware of the issue, of the report that Human Rights Watch issued today, and I think our representatives, both on the ground and in front of the Security Council, have been very clear about the situation in the West Bank, especially those of Palestinian civilians, and notably during the ongoing olive harvest. We have raised this issue directly, and both privately and publicly, with Israeli authorities, and we will continue to do that. Let's go to Anadolu in the room.
Thank you, Stéphane. I just would like to follow up latest Israeli strike and the ceasefire situation. Gaza Health Ministry says that, past 40 days, 312 Palestinians died because of the Israeli fire. And also news reports that over 400 Israeli violations on the ceasefire. The question is, does the Secretary General thinks Israel upholding the ceasefire, or ceasefire is in effect as long as Hamas doesn't respond back?
Look, I think you're asking me almost a legal question that I'm not able to answer. We are not an observer, a guarantor of the ceasefire, right? Our focus, and this was also highlighted in the UN resolution, in Mr. Trump's plan for the UN right now, this moment, is on delivering humanitarian aid. We are doing the very best that we can in using every space that is allotted to us to deliver that humanitarian aid. Our concern is the fragility of the ceasefire. Whether a ceasefire, so that's where our focus is. It's not for us, given our lack of participation as a guarantor, to say the ceasefire is holding or not holding. People are getting killed. Palestinians are getting killed, and that needs to stop. Okay. Thank you all. Enjoy the weekend, but not yet.